Okay. Wow, okay. That is freaky.
After 14 years, Incredibles 2 has finally hit theaters, and yes, it is full of Easter eggs, so let's break them down. What's going on, you lovely people? Lisa here, and I just got back from seeing Incredibles 2 for the second time. Yeah, the first time I went to just take in the entire movie. The second time I went specifically to try to find the Easter egg. Now, just a heads up here, I am talking about Easter eggs in this movie, so I will be talking about some spoilers, so there is your warning. You might want to click away if you haven't seen this movie. Now, my quick thoughts on the movie. I know you're not here for my review, but I figured I would just tell you my thoughts. I thought this movie was worth the wait. It was so much fun and suspenseful, and yes, it was partly predictable. I mean, the character is named Evelyn Dever, yeah, like evil endeavor, so it's kind of obvious that she's kind of gonna be the bad guy. But even so, it was just as suspenseful and full of action, and Jack really steals the show. But we're here to talk about Easter eggs, so let's get started. And for those of you who are like, you didn't show pictures of the Easter eggs, well, no duh, I don't have access to the entire movie to show you, and if there's any pictures from them, they'd be in the trailers, and they didn't give away many of the Easter eggs in the trailers, so that's why there's no definite pictures when I'm making this, because the movie legit just came out. Wait for the DVD if you want the actual pictures. Okay, so there are some pretty standard Easter eggs that appear in the majority of Disney and Pixar movies. The first one is the iconic Luxo Ball, and it indeed appears in Incredibles 2. When we see Bob put Jack to bed, and he later finds Jack watching TV, he goes to put Jack to bed again. We see Bob then place a table and books on top of the crib to try to keep Jack in. Little does he know that's not gonna work. Well, on the end of the crib is a seal who has a ball on its nose, and that ball just so happens to be the Luxo Ball. Possible second Easter egg in this scene is, well, the seal on the crib, and then there's also a seal on the wall. Included also on the wallpaper in Jack's room are an elephant and some balloons. Now, it could be a stretch here, but I feel like that seal could be a reference to the seal in Finding Dory, most likely Rudder. As far as those balloons we see on the wall, I feel like those could possibly be a reference to Up, but don't quote me on that. That could just be a stretch, and this could just be standard kids' wallpaper. Honestly, whenever I watch a Disney or Pixar movie, I feel like pretty much anything on screen could be an Easter egg. Now moving on to the classic A113, which is a reference to the classroom at California Institute of Arts, which was attended by many of the Pixar directors and heads, and people including Brad Bird, who directed and wrote this movie. That number and letter appear twice in the film, actually. Now, most people have spotted it at the end of the movie on the movie marquee when the family drive Violet and Tony to their date. The movie playing is called Dementia 113, but on the right marquee, there's a letter added, so it's Dementia A113. Now, the other Easter egg here is that this is also a reference to the horror movie Dementia 13, which would have been released in this time period and was directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Now, that's the second time in the movie A113 appears. The first time isn't maybe as easy to spot, or maybe it is. After the opening battle with the Underminer, we see Frozone slip and slide his way away from the crime scene as to not be arrested. When the Devers limo driver tries to stop Frozone to talk to him, we see Frozone crouched behind a dumpster trying to continue to hide from the police. Well, on the side of that dumpster, you'll see Muni-A113 spray painted. Muni in reference to the city, Municeburg, and then A113. And you know what? I take it back. A113 actually might appear 3 times. Now, I didn't notice it when I was watching the movie, but according to Pixar posts and a photo they have of the Devers boat, it looks like A113 appears in the numbers and letters on the side of the ship. Now, one Easter egg that's in every Pixar movie is the voice of John Ratzenberger. He's the only person to voice a character in every movie, whether it's a big part like Toy Story or a little part. And Incredibles 2 is no different. However, this time, it doesn't feel like as much of an Easter egg. In The Incredibles, Ratzenberger voiced the Underminer, who appeared at the very end of the movie. Well, the opening battle in this sequel is with the Underminer as well, since it picks up in seconds after the first movie. So, as expected, Ratzenberger reprises his role as that evil character. Now, you may call this next one an Easter egg related to the Underminer, or it could just be nothing at all. But if you stay until the very end of the credits, there's an animation across the screen that shows the Underminer's drill vehicle popping back up on the surface and driving across the screen. Now, since the Underminer did get away, could this be a hint that he might be back again if there is an Incredibles 3? Kind of like how Marvel movies at the very end will be like, Thanos will will return. Maybe it's kind of like that? Another classic Pixar Easter egg we've come to know and love is the Pizza Planet truck from Toy Story. Now, before Incredibles 2 came out, the set supervisor Nathan Ferris told press at a press conference that the Pizza Planet truck does make an appearance in this movie, but it might be kind of hard to see because it's gotten a revamp in order to blend into the time period of the movie, which is the 60s. So the second time I watched The Incredibles, I was like trying to search for Easter eggs, and I literally tried looking at every car whizzing by in the scene, and if you've seen the movie, you know that is a crap ton of cars. So it's like, this is kind of useless. But then, wham! The Pizza Planet truck was right in front of my eyes. So where does it appear? When Elastigirl is chasing the fake screenslaver through the apartment building after discovering the lair, they jump out of the window and then we see that apartment explode. Elastigirl does her little parachute thing. They end up coming thud to the ground and they land right in front of the Pizza Planet truck. Yeah, you see the little front half of it. And well, if you think about it, this makes a lot of sense. The guy that Evelyn used to pose as the so-called screenslaver was actually a pizza delivery guy who came to deliver pizza. So yeah, that's probably his truck that was just waiting for him to come back. Unfortunately, he didn't get back in that truck, he got stuck in a police car. The next Easter egg on this list also appears in multiple Pixar movies, starting with A Bug's Life and most recently also appearing in Inside Out. I think that was the most recent time. It's the Chinese takeout box that we see the Pars eating from at the hotel during dinner, and there's also one in the fridge later at the house. The dinner scene is very also reminiscent of the one from Inside Out, and some even think that the reference to the vegetables and broccoli are a call out to Inside Out because, well, broccoli's disgusting, right?
What? Is this all vegetables? Who ordered all vegetables?
I did.
Now hold on, guys. It's broccoli! Yucky! Well, I just saved our lives. Yeah.
Now, every Pixar movie also usually contains an Easter egg for the next movie in their lineup, and in this case, it would be Toy Story 4. Fun fact, Toy Story 4 and Incredibles 2 ended up switching release dates, but more on that a little bit later. So yes, there is a Toy Story 4 Easter egg in Incredibles 2, but I'll be upfront with you, I didn't find it. So if you clicked on this video to specifically find out what that Toy Story 4 Easter egg is, I am so sorry to disappoint you. But you know what? I don't know if anybody's going to find it because that set designer, Nathan Ferris, told press that he doesn't expect anyone to find it until they see Toy Story 4 and then go back and watch Incredibles 2. He said it probably won't make any sense until Toy Story 4 comes out. I didn't even know anything about it before. You might see it and go, what the heck is that? And then move on. So that means it could very well be anything. I mean, Toy Story is a world with humans and toys and all kinds of things. I ended up looking at every single toy Jack played with, all kinds of things on the walls, cars, characters, signs. I tried to find something, but I didn't really find anything. There is a character on Dash's pajamas, and at first I thought it was Buzz Lightyear, but I don't think it was. I never really got a clear shot, but I feel like whoever was on his pajamas matches an action figure that is inside of Jack's crib. Now that could just be a toy. There's also that weird book that Bob reads to Jack to make him fall asleep called Doozles or Dozing or something like that. Could perhaps that have something to do with it? I guess we're just gonna have to wait until June 20th, 2019 to find out, unless Disney and Pixar decide to release it ahead of time or any of you guys figure out what it is. So if you figure it out, let me know down in the comments. But those are the Disney and Pixar Easter eggs we've come to love and know and expect to happen in every movie. Now there might be other references to past Disney Pixar movies, like characters thrown around or whatever. I might have missed them because everything flies by so fast in this movie, and if you can't tell, I have super thick glasses, so if I missed something else, let me know down in the comments. Now, some other fun references that might not necessarily be considered Easter eggs, but are still fun to mention are coming up next in this video. The Pars stay in the Safari Court Motel, which for me reminds me of the Safari Inn here in Burbank that's appeared in many movies and that I actually drive by pretty often. The TV that the Parr family watch are actual shows for the most part. There's what looks like some Godzilla action going on, and we get to see the opening credits of The Outer Limits and hear it, and when Bob wakes up from a 17-hour sleep, we see Dash watching Johnny Quest. So whatever dimension these guys are in or universe, we all still share the same TV. Something else The Incredibles shares with our pop culture is babies popping into other dimensions. As pointed out by Screen Crush and New Rockstar and probably some others, Jack can go into other dimensions, and this isn't the first time that Craig T. Nelson, the actor who voices Mr. Incredible, has had to deal with one of his kids doing that. He played the father in the classic movie Poltergeist, where his kid was pulled into another dimension and he could hear her pleading for help from there. Thankfully this time, it's a much more pleasant interdimensional situation. Thanks to these two websites and others, we also have these next few references. The movie gives a nod to Ghostbusters Ghostbusters, sharing an almost exact same line or thinking. When we see Helen in the editing suite trying to piece together the fact that the pizza guy couldn't have been the screenslaver because he wasn't a scientific genius, Evelyn, who we quickly learn after that is the one behind all of this, tries to cover it up by saying that Einstein was a patent clerk. So yeah, even though he was smart, he also did a regular job as a patent clerk. Well, that line reminds plenty of people of this line from Ghostbusters.
Einstein did his best stuff when he was working as a patent clerk.
The other thing they noticed isn't so much of an Easter egg as it is like a clever reference or symbolism. The painting in Elastigirl's room that you kind of see when she's calling Bob to check in and see how the kids are and how he's doing is a representation of what we're seeing happen with the Parr family. The four shapes on the left represent Bob and the kids, and the one shape on the right that's far away from those shapes represents Helen being separated from the family. The last thing is an Easter egg that could have been as pointed out by Screen Rant. In the first film, Syndrome says that Mr. Incredible was 15 years too late when referencing how long it had been since they first met. Now, we had to wait 14 years to see The Incredibles 2, but it was originally supposed to be 15 years, so it would have been fun nod to be like, oh, hey, we also had to wait 15 years to meet these characters again. Unfortunately, Pixar and Disney decided to swap The Incredibles 2 release date with Toy Story 4, so that was a fun little reference that never happened. And as expected with any sequel that happens, especially seconds after the first movie, there are tons of nods and little things to the first movie, like pictures that reference past battles, and all these little things like the Incredibles, so those are little fun things to also look for. Alright, so I think that's the majority of the big Easter eggs in Incredibles 2. Let me know which ones you spotted down in the comments and which one I missed. Did you figure out that Toy Story 4 Easter egg? And what's your favorite Disney Pixar Easter egg of all time? Like, which one do you always search for first? Let me know. Then if you like what you see, you can hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Check out some of my other videos right over here. My name's Lisa. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time.